Good morning, and thank you very much for inviting me to participate in your conference. I would have much preferred being there, but at least my face and my voice can be in Australia tonight, or tonight for me, this morning for you. So this talk is tweet blog post, and we're going to be focusing on social media aspects. First off, just a little bit about me. I have a mechanical and aerospace engineering degree and started off in the defense industry, but found that commercialization looked much more interesting and a better way to apply my engineering skills to things that were of interest to me. So I converted into the technology commercialization world back in the early 90s and have been doing tech transfer since then, both for commercial companies, government agencies, as well as universities. So I've been doing tech transfer for over 20 years now, and I started my company, Fuentek, back in 2001, and we're a group of engineers and scientists complemented by publication specialists. So we technical types aren't always the best at communicating, so we augment with technical writers as well as graphic artists. As you'll be able to see in my presentation, I personally could not have made this look this nicely, but we have good staff that does know how to do that. So social media can be very overwhelming for people, and they have a lot of concerns about what does this mean if I get involved, and how much of a commitment is going to be, and how costly is it, all sorts of different concerns, and is it really going to pay off? Well, we've been participating in the social media world for probably about 4 or 5 years now, and we believe that it has paid off for us both in developing our own reputation, the corporate reputation, but we use it effectively in commercializing technologies, and I'll share some of that information with you. So social media is just one of the components in your tool chest of communication tools. There's all the things that you still do and you still want to do, like picking up the phone and talking to people directly, but also in going to trade shows, conferences, having meetings with companies. All of that still exists, and you should still be doing it. This is just one more tool in your chest to use to reach people and to effectively do your job. So no matter what kind of communication we do, we break it down to different pieces to help us in creating that communication strategy. The first is identifying who the audience is. So you want to know who is it you're reaching. If it's the transportation industry, they're a different type of organization than the medical industry. So who is it that the technology is going to impact? Who is that audience? And then even within that, are you going to be talking to the researchers or the business decision makers? So understand who your target is. Once you understand the target, figure out the right message for them. Are they going to care about cost, or are they going to care about the effectiveness of the technology, that it's better or faster? Business people tend to care about the cheapness portion. Technical folks care about better, faster. But in general, the better, faster, cheaper, when you're trying to market technologies, is part of what you're trying to convey in that message. It might also be that you're trying to convey information about your office and your organization and your reputation. That messaging might be quite different, and that audience would be different. In that case, it might be the students in your university or the faculty in your university that you want to convey to them information about what your tech transfer organization does. The next piece is the mechanism. How do you reach these people? Where do they live? Is it the right place to go to a trade show, specifically where everybody in that particular industry is going to be? That can be very cost effective, and you can reach them directly. Or is it better to pick up the phone and call people? Each one of those is a mechanism. And then finally, the ammo is completed with the O. What is the outcome? What action do you want? So no matter what kind of communication we're doing, we follow the ammo, and we take a look at each one of these things and make the decision as to who we're going to reach, how we're going to reach them, and what we want happening at the end. This talk is very specifically going to focus on the mechanism, and digital and social media as that mechanism. So I'm not going to touch any of the other types of things you can do. I start with digital because before you launch into social media, you really want to make sure that you have your web page in order, because everything you do in social media is going to point back to the web page that you've got. That's your landing page for everything. So your tech transfer office web page is, or website, is many different pages. Could be about the different types of things you do, or what your processes are. But one of the key pieces that you want to make sure are there, if this is part of your strategy for marketing technologies, is that you have descriptions of your technologies. We call those listings, and you want to make sure those are on your site. You can also leverage them once you have them written to put on some other free websites, such as Flintbox is free, and you can't see it underneath here, but Autumn has a global technology portal where you can also post for free if you are a member of Autumn. So having that description, you can put it in many places. In addition to that, on your website, you could also include interviews with inventors, videos, all those other multimedia things that might be beneficial for you, and just make your website more interesting. Now, when you move into the social media sector, if you're prepared to do that and you've got your web page up and running and doing well, the must-haves that we think for technology transfer, so it's not every industry, different tools for different types of industries, but for tech transfer, we believe LinkedIn, using a blog, Twitter, and Facebook are your key components, and I'll talk about how you leverage each one of those and when you use them and how you use them. But those are kind of the key pieces that we use pretty heavily, and in tech transfer are becoming pretty standard way of communicating. Now there's some other ones that are available to you. SlideShare, YouTube. If you've got multimedia, those are great places to post your information. In addition to your website, you can also post them there. The QR codes, if you're going to have any printed material, QR codes are great to use where they can scan them with their smartphone and immediately go to your website. And then podcasts, another multimedia tool that we use pretty heavily. Now, why is social media so important? Well, one of the main things is that it gives you a very wide reach, and you can get to so many more people than you would through some of those traditional communication mechanisms, such as picking up the phone or going to a trade show. And sort of the old commercial of you tell two people and they tell two people and they tell two people, only it's multiplied by more than just two people. It can also be very inexpensive because once you push it to one set of mechanisms, it can be pushed out to multiple mechanisms. And so you can get to a lot of people very quickly and very inexpensively. And it improves your website traffic, which I'll comment on in a little bit more in a minute about why that's so important. And then finally, if you want to leverage social media for your purposes of pushing your technology, of marketing it, you have to participate if you want to reach these people. So pay to play, basically. So why is it so important to use social media as part of the whole strategy? Well, quite frankly, the Google search relies on algorithm. It's the current version is called Hummingbird, and it leverages social media as part of how it calculates whether you're going to be at the top of that search or somewhere on page 9. So the things that go into the Hummingbird algorithm are, first, the quality of the page. So you want to make sure that you've got original, good content that is meaningful and interesting to people, so they're coming to your site because they're getting informed by something. Keywords are still important, so if I type in polymers or polyimides, that your website would also have polyimides. Keywords are important. However, the algorithms are getting smarter and smarter, and so the search engines are able to discern what you probably intended. So it's not as much keywords as it is intent and meaning. But please don't ignore your keywords because that's still going to help you. And then the last two components are where that social media really comes into play. The backlinks from high-quality sites means that somebody like CNN, for example, puts a link back to your web page because they did an article on you, and so there's a link back from a very high-quality website going to your website. And then the inbound clicks means that high-trafficked popular pages are clicking back to your website, and those are the social media sites. And they also help define which of those high-quality sites because they're used in the social media. So CNN is quoted a lot in or linked back to a lot in Facebook or Twitter. And so both of those are really leveraged or influenced by the high traffic social media. Now the numbers that I just put up of Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and LinkedIn, they're all top 10. That means they are the top 10 most trafficked sites, and there is that rating comes from, it's called Alexa rating, ALEXA, is where you can go and see what your Alexa rating is. And the lower the number, the more popular you are. So this shows you why it's so important to include those. So not only are you putting information out on social media, but you get something back as a result. There are ways that you can use social media to really help you in some of the activities that you do as part of technology transfer. For example, if you're evaluating your technologies, you could reach out to people on LinkedIn or even Twitter to ask their opinion about the technology when you're still in the early stages, and use the groups that are on LinkedIn to post things. So for example, we had a technology that was a high performance polyimide, and lo and behold, there's a group on LinkedIn called High Performance Polyimides. So it was very easy to join that group, post information about the technology early on when we were evaluating it, and then later when we were marketing that technology. Another way that you can use social media is to build up your reputation. Tell good stories about the successes that you've got, making sure that people understand the breadth of all of the different things that your tech transfer office has. So it's not just the technologies, but there could be other things like capabilities that you work on within your university that you want to make sure people are aware. And then the last is marketing that technology. So when you get to the point of pushing your technology and finding people that are interested, again, LinkedIn is a great place to find particular people that are in companies that are your targets, using those groups. And then Twitter also might be a way that you can push information out about, here's a story about our technology. We just posted the technology description. We just added something to our website with an interview of the inventor. One of the ways that we used Twitter recently was we were evaluating a technology that was in the gaming industry. And gamers do not participate in LinkedIn. They're not email types either, but they are heavy users of Twitter. And so we went to Twitter users, we found them, who were in the gaming industry, and we direct messaged them in order to get some feedback from them on what they thought of this particular tool or this technology, which was particular to games. So another inexpensive way of leveraging your content is through social media. When you write your technology description, that is the most expensive investment you're making early on. But once you have it written, you can repurpose it many ways. So first you put it on your website. That's your technology description out there. Then you might take that information and you post on LinkedIn a description of, here's this technology to the groups, or you email the link to the technology to specific people that you know should be interested in this, in the technology. You could then tweet that you did a podcast with an innovator, or he just, in this case, the technology you're looking at, it was an astronaut, and he happened to also be a mountain climber and went to Mount Everest. So we were able to tweet multiple times while he was using the particular technology during his ascent on Everest. And so it was a very interesting story and got a lot of traffic. But it drove traffic back to the technology page, which was the key aspect of getting people interested in the technology. And then you can blog about the different activities or blog about the technology. So repurposing the same content multiple ways without costing a whole lot more in creating content for you. Now the key aspects of what that social media messaging is you want to be simple, you want to be straight to the point, and keep it fun and keep it interesting. So it's got to be short if it's on Twitter because it's only 140 characters, but the blog can also be a little bit longer, about 250, words, and it can be a little bit more of storytelling as opposed to the very formal description that you've got on your website of the technology. Now, let's break it down a little bit into the key pieces that we use. So for LinkedIn, what you want to do is first make sure that you've got a good personal as well as company or organization profile so that you are professionally represented there. It's not a place, it's not Facebook, so do not put pictures up of you in a bathing suit or on vacation. It needs to be a professional content. And you want to freshen it up, and you can add status to it. So if you post something to Twitter or to your blog, you can actually directly link it to LinkedIn, so it adds to your status there. You also want to connect to as many people as possible. Facebook, for example, I use it very personally. I do not connect to anybody that is not directly a friend or family. But on LinkedIn, I connect with pretty much everybody unless they're an investor, in which case I really, investor meaning that they want to help me invest my money, not investors like venture capitalists. Those guys I link with. So you want to link to as many people as possible, because the more people you link to, the easier your reach will be when you're trying to find somebody that is specifically interested in the technology. And then you want to make sure you contribute meaningfully. That's for the groups. So when you join these different groups, you want to add questions, you want to add comments, information. Has anybody seen this new article out by the Brookings Institute? This is what I think about it. So make sure that you are adding things that are helpful to the communities that you're participating with. For Facebook, we have found that for universities is a very good tool for in-reach. So it's to get to your students and get to your faculty, help them understand who your office is and how you can help them or what their obligations are. For example, if they're inventing technology, they really should be submitting invention disclosures. So different ways of performing in-reach. Not so much for business to business. So corporations are not necessarily going to be looking at your Facebook page. They may check on it after they're starting to do business with you, but they're not going to be cruising Facebook to find technology. So it's less likely going to be how you create a relationship with a company. Make sure you're keeping it fun, and professional but fun as a corporate page. And freshen up your content regularly. Again, if you're tweeting, you can automatically add a character at the end of a tweet, and it will add a post to your Facebook or your LinkedIn. So again, super easy to use the same information in a couple places. For Twitter, that can be a little intimidating at first. I admit I resisted for about a year before we started tweeting, but there's a good progression that you might want to follow. First, get your handle, get set up with your account, and then what we call lurking. Just watch. Follow people that are in the industry that you're interested in, that are similar to how you would like to behave, and just see how they're tweeting and what they're tweeting. And so just start by watching. And then start retweeting interesting bits and pieces that you see from these people. And that's by retweeting them, then they'll pay attention to you and hopefully follow you. And then create your own tweets eventually. And after that, you'll be able to start direct messaging people. And that's reaching out very specifically to one person at a time as opposed to the general tweeting. Making sure you use hashtags and handles. And I know this sounds like jargon probably right now, but I'm going to give you a URL at the very end that will give you access to a lot more detail about how you structure a tweet and a lot more description of how you do both tweets and blogs. So bear with me as I give you some of the jargon right now, but there is more information. And then follow as many people as you find interesting on the hopes of getting them to follow you. So you want to build that following, and by retweeting them, you will catch their attention and they will start following you back. With a blog, you hopefully are putting information out there that is interesting to people and that attracts attention. Invite people that have large followings, hopefully on Twitter or LinkedIn or anything like that, to be guest bloggers on your site if you're trying to build that following and build that awareness, because they will bring with them their group, their peeps will follow your blog because they're paying attention to the contributions that they are making. And then make sure you are also commenting out on other people's blogs. Again, it's that quid pro quo of if I help you, you help me. And you can also solicit people, high-end people, to provide comments onto your blog. If they're not willing to do a guest blog, maybe they'll just give you some comments on key blogs that you might have. You also want to try to guest blog on other people's sites. That can help your following. And then provide good commentary on other people's blogs. All of those things help raise awareness of who you are and attract people to your site. So, what is the strategy for social media and wrapping all of this up? First off, you want to select the right tool for each job, making sure that you have your web page up first before you do anything in social media. Get your house in order, your digital house in order, and then leverage that same content multiple ways. You write the technology description, then you write a blog about the description, then you tweet that you've got a blog. So you can be very efficient in that content. Then develop a schedule. If you start doing something, you kind of have to keep that presence there. That doesn't mean you have to do it every hour or every day. So for example, blog, when we first started doing that, we were blogging once a week. Then we went to twice a week. Then we went to almost 3 times a week. Then we pulled back, and we're now back to once to twice a week, depending on whether we've got something significant to add or say. You could easily do once a month as a starting point, and then alternate your content so that you have different things. It doesn't have to be a technology description every time. Maybe you talk about the policies in your office or some success stories. There's a variety of things that you could blog about. And Twitter, the same sort of thing. Maybe you only tweet every couple of days, and then you eventually get more comfortable with it and can tweet more often. There's also some tools you can use that are in the website that I'm going to provide suggestions of how you use some of the tools out there to help you schedule some of those tweets. And then make sure you're sharing the load. This is not something that you have to do alone. Maybe there are several people in your office and you can each share who's doing what. Blogging, for example, you can have multiple people blogging on the site. And also your Twitter account. Maybe there's a few people that are contributing to that. For us, we have one main person that does most of our tweets for us, but if I'm at a show, I may tweet directly and add to that, or we may have somebody else that's contributing because they're at an event. So share that load. It doesn't have to be just you, but whoever it is you do pick to participate with you, make sure that they understand that they need to be professional in that representation. Professional doesn't mean you can't have fun. You can still, be quirky with some of the things you're tweeting, but it shouldn't be inappropriate. So just be cautious of that. So with that, I thank you all for your attention. That's the website where you can download white paper and some additional information to help you get started on social media. And I'm going to unmute you, Melissa, if you've got any questions.